Thank you. All right, we'll see you later. Don't turn it all off. I'll be back.
All right. Let's go ahead and be on the record. Case number 2020-CR257, caption State of Kansas versus James Hanson. Would the parties announce their appearances, please?
May it please the court, Candace Alvarez appears on behalf of the state.
Please the court, the defendant appears in custody and by counsel Alberti Grauberger.
All right. We are here set down for a plea hearing. Mr. Hanson, I need to go over this plea with you, okay? I'm going to be asking you a lot of questions. If at any time you don't understand a question that I ask you, tell me that, and we'll talk about it until you do. If at any time before you answer a question, you want to talk to Mr. Grauberger in private, I can make that happen. I just send you guys to a private room and you can talk without us being able to hear you. So you just tell me you want to do that and we'll make that happen, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, to start with, I need to have you sworn in. So if you'd raise your right hand, my court reporter will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony about to provide in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God? Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead and put your hand down. Mr. Hanson, how far did you go in school?
9th grade,
All right, you read and write okay?
somewhat.
All right. Did you go over the plea petition with Mr. Grauberger, or did he send one to you? And were you able to understand what it said and have any questions answered by Mr. Grauberger?
No, but I mean, I think he sent me the paper.
Okay, you didn't take a look at it?
I don't know. He's come by a couple of times. I ain't for sure which one he showed me.
All right. I'm going to put it up here on the screen and see if you recognize this document, okay? Nope, that is not it. Hold on one second. All right. Can you see that document that I just put up here?
Yes, sir.
All right. Have you seen this document before?
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You've seen that before, okay?
Yes,
Is
sir.
that your signature there where it says defendant?
Yes, sir.
Did you read that document?
I believe I did. I believe he read it to me.
Okay. All right. And did you seem to, so Mr. Grauberger, do you read this document to your client?
Yes, I did, Your Honor. I went with him line by line and asked him to sign it on the date indicated.
Okay. So when he did that, did you understand all the things Mr. Grauberger told you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Now, let's talk about today. As you sit here today, I know you're in custody, but are you under the influence of any alcohol or drugs or prescription medicine that might cloud your mind, keep you from understanding what we're doing today?
No, sir.
Feel like your mind's clear today?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you know what you're charged with? Do you know what you're charged with?
I believe so. Failure to, or
It's
Failure to-
failure to register as an offender. You understand that?
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I believe you're charged with multiple counts of that under the information. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You know that you don't have to change your plea from one of not guilty to guilty. If you wanted to maintain your not guilty plea, you would have a right to a jury trial in this case. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
The state would have to, at that trial, would have to prove you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. You would not have to prove anything yourself. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Grauberger would help you throughout that case. He would cross-examine all of the state's witnesses, challenge all of their evidence. He could call any witnesses you wanted called. And if they didn't want to come to court, he could use the subpoena power of the court to make them come. Do you understand all that?
Yes, sir.
Now, at that trial, you would have a right to testify, but you'd also have a right not to testify. And if you decided not to testify, the state couldn't use that against you. In other words, they couldn't get up and argue to the jury, Mr. Hanson must be guilty because he didn't tell you his side of the story. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, if we had that full trial, and at the end of the trial, you were convicted, you would have a right to appeal that conviction to an appellate court. And if you didn't have the money to do that, a lawyer would be appointed to do it for you. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
If we go forward with this plea today and you end up pleading guilty, you're going to be giving up all of those rights. There's not going to be a trial of any kind in this case. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, looking back at this plea petition that I still have up, I see here that it says the agreement is this, that you're going to be pleading guilty to count 1, which is the failure to register of the information, and the state's going to dismiss all of the remaining counts and would agree that you be granted probation. Is that your understanding of the plea agreement?
Yes, sir.
Has anybody promised you anything other than what I just read to you to get you to plead guilty today?
No, sir.
Anybody place any force or threats against you to make you plead guilty today?
No, sir.
All right. So I see it here. It says that the parties are going to agree to recommend to the court that you be granted probation. You understand, I'm going to listen very closely to everybody's recommendations, but I'm not a party to them, nor am I bound by them, and I can give you any sentence that the law allows me to. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Alcaraz, Mr. Grauberger, do you guys have an understanding what you believe the defendant's criminal history score will be?
Judge, I believe it'll be a D.
Mr. Grauberger, does that sound right?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay, so I'm sure Mr. Grauberger talked about the sentencing grid with you and where you might fall on that grid. And you understand that when we're done with this plea, I'm going to order a pre-sentence investigation, and they're going to take a long look into any criminal history you have. And if it's worse than the parties believe, then you could be subject to a sentence higher than you and Mr. Grauberger had anticipated. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right. So given that, what I have to do for today's hearing is assume that you have the very worst criminal history, so I can tell you what the maximum that anybody could get for this crime is. And that would be 46 months imprisonment and a fine of $100,000 with a post-release supervision duration of 24 months. Do you understand that's the maximum that anybody could get for this charge?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions for me about anything that you and I have gone over today?
No, sir.
All right. Mr. Grauberger, do you know any legal reason why your client should not plead?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Let me stop the share here. Then I'm going to ask you, Mr. Hanson, as to count 1 of the original information charging you with violation of the Offender Registration Act, which is a severity level 6 person felony, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
All right. Now I'm going to ask Ms. Alcaraz to tell me what she thinks the facts in this case would be. I want you to listen closely because when she's done, I'm going to ask you if that's what happened, okay?
Okay.
Ms. Alcaraz.
Yes, Judge. State's evidence would be that the defendant was convicted of rape on 9/23/2004 in Franklin County, Kansas, case number 2004 CR 80. As a result, he had to register, well, he has to register for the rest of his life. He moved from Johnson County in July of 2019 to 2206 Everett Avenue, Kansas City, Kansas, Wyandotte County. He last registered at that address on July 10th, 2019. He became non-compliant on October 1st of 2019 through October 31st of 2019 by failing to register during this required month, and also for the required month of September. And since that time, he has not registered. And by doing so, he has failed to report in person 4 times each year to the law enforcement agency that does registration in the county in which he resides. And this violation has continued for more than 30 consecutive days.
All right, Mr. Hanson, is that what happened in this case?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm going to find the defendant has freely, voluntarily, and intelligently entered into his plea. He knows the nature of the charges and the consequences of the plea. The state has provided a sufficient factual basis for a finding of guilt, and I will in fact find that the defendant is guilty of count 1 of the information. Per plea agreement, the rest of the counts will be dismissed. I'm going to order a pre-sentence investigation be conducted, and then we will continue this sentencing pending receipt of that. Let me see what might be a good date. How about December 18th at 9 a.m. by Zoom? Mr. Grauberger, would that work for you?
Let me check, Your Honor.
All right.
That would work fine.
All right. I'm going to have sentencing on December 18th at 9 a.m. Mr. Grauberger, is there a bond motion?
Yes, I would ask that Mr. Hanson be granted his own release on his own recognizance. He's informed me that he's had conversation with the probation people who said that they are going to help him find employment and also a spot to live because prior to the time that he failed to report, he was homeless. But I would think with this help from the probation department that he would be a good risk.
All right. Ms. Alcaraz, what's your position on that?
Judge, I'm fine with it as long as they actually have an address for him. I don't want him to get lost in between now and sentencing. I don't mean to be harsh, but I want to be realistic and make sure that we don't have any hiccups getting to sentencing.
All right. Mr. Hanson, tell me this. I let you out today. Where are you going to be staying?
I got a friend that says I can stay with him until my PO can hook me up with a place.
Okay. So where you're on paper right now, out of what county?
Olathe.
Out of Olathe? Okay. All right.
Thank you.
That's Johnson County.
Right. Yes. Here's where I'm so I have this request for a pre-sentence investigation, and the person who's supposed to be who's going to have to write the PSI for this needs to be able to get in touch with you, and there's no address or phone number listed. What's that address that you're going to be staying at?
226 North 26th Street. Here in Kansas City, Kansas, right up the road here.
Do you have any kind of phone number?
Yeah, yes, sir. 913 230
Okay.
1551.
Okay. Now, here's the important thing. If I give the probation office this information and they reach out to you, they're going to need to be able to get a hold of you. So even if your probation officer finds somewhere else for you to go, if they mail you a letter at that address or they call this phone number, are they going to be able to reach you?
Yes, sir.
All right. It's very important. So here's what I want to tell you. I expect that will happen probably within a week. but no more than 2 weeks from today. If 2 weeks goes by and you haven't heard from anybody in Wyandotte County to set up a pre-sentence investigation, I need you to get a hold of Mr. Grauberger immediately, okay?
Yes, sir.
Do you know how to get a hold of Mr. Grauberger?
The PO officer I have now is here in Kansas, or up here on 18th Street. Is
Say that again?
The parole officer that I have right now,
Yeah,
her office is up here on 18th Street.
okay, good. So they must have courtesy supervision over here.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to grant the OR bond. I'll get a release over to the jail today, and we are set for sentencing on December 18th at 9 a.m. I do have to tell you, having made this plea, Mr. Hanson, as a convicted felon, it's prohibited for you to own or possess a firearm, certain kind of deadly cutting instruments like dirks, daggers, switchblades, basically knives that could be considered deadly weapons, okay?
Yes.
So before you decide to get a hold of any kind of weapon like that, make sure you talk to a lawyer. Make sure it would not be a reason to revoke a probation or add new charges, okay?
Right. Yes, sir.
All right, they're going to be getting you out today. I'm going to get your paperwork over to you, and I want to stress this again before we leave. If you don't hear from them in the next 2 weeks, you need to get a hold of Mr. Grauberger immediately so that it can be set up, okay?
Yes, sir. Will
All
do.
right. Other things for our record today.
Not from the state judge.
We are,
The only thing I would have to say, Your Honor, I would ask Mr. Hanson to contact me this next week for sure, so that him and I can discuss what would go on from here.
Yes, sir.
all right. All right. Well, good luck, Mr. Hanson.
All right.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.